So we all love to succeed. But do we all love in order to succeed? See, love's more than a noun, it's a verb. I actually think it's one of the coolest doing words that we have because it creates energy and momentum and impact. Now, I think we all know that love can make us do crazy things, but it can also make us do unimaginable things, great things. So Elvis knows that we can't help falling in love and the mad, crazy passion that comes with that. But then in our tougher moments, Gloria Gaynor will remind us, I will survive as long as I know how to love. Actually, it's been estimated that over 100 million love songs have been recorded. It's so much part of the fabric of human beings. So think, it had to be you, I will always love you, or never tear us apart. For me, it's Cheap Tricks, The Flame. I must have played that over 1 million times on repeat, trying to solve or clean up the shattered heart of my first breakup. And then when I first held my children, Counting Crows, Accidentally in Love, came to mind. Now these songs and millions of others are simply expressions of how love shows up in our personal lives. But we rarely hear about or talk about love at work. Why is that? There is a real fear of love in business. In fact, it's considered pretty disparagingly as the soft stuff, the domain of the bleeding heart leader. And there's this super weird implication that if you bring love or your heart into the office, well, you somehow must have left your brain at home. And yet I've come to believe that love in business is way more powerful than we've ever given it credit. Love is so much part of the human spirit. It doesn't matter what location we're in. And love, it gives us so much. So, I love nothing more than coming home and listening to my kids tell me about their day. They've got this unbridled, passionate love of life, and it's infectious. But it also helps me see familiar things through different eyes. And then there's the unwavering, and I have to say sometimes too honest, love of my husband. But it gives me this amazing support and the courage to do things that I probably would otherwise not have done. And then there's the unconditional love of parents, and that's like, wow, a really big hug, no matter what has happened. And it gives you that safe space, that opportunity to reflect and to learn. Why would we not want these same wonderful conditions to show up in the office, in our factories, in our field teams? It's time that love takes a seat in the boardroom. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of naive love that fails to recognise the reality of the here and now, but the kind that, in spite of the challenges, the ambiguity, the fear, can help to reframe what's possible, to make things better, to inspire us, to give us the courage to go on. So, can the business of love complement the love of business? I believe so. But asked in a different way, and maybe in the more famous words of Tina Turner, what's love got to do with it? And anyway, why does it matter? Well, it matters because we are always going to live in a world where there is fear. And love is the antidote of fear. How can we fear less and love more? See, fear, like love, it's a gripping emotion, but it can consume us, disarm us, paralyse us. And when that happens, we lose our confidence, our creativity, and our ability to keep going on. And that's not good in life. It's certainly not good in business. Now, I've felt fear many times. The day I took the role as CEO for Unilever Australia and New Zealand was the day we all went into COVID lockdown. Yeah, so amidst trying to lead a team virtually, do homeschooling, hunt for loo paper, desperately avoid being told you're on mute, and more G&Ts than I know is good for me, I was also completing my Masters of Change and the thesis that came along with it. Now, the irony of learning to lead through change at the time the world, our business, even my home was experiencing some of the most profound change ever is not lost on me. And I can tell you, there were no neat ducks in a row. It was more like squirrels at a rave. Yep. And I felt fear regularly. But love propelled me forward. Love of walks and talks with team members I got to know way more intimately than probably in usual times. Love of time with family and friends and those wonderful care packages that got exchanged. Or just love of using some of that commute time to think, not just about how we might survive this crisis, but how we may well thrive in the aftermath if we just did things a little bit differently. I felt fear and love many, many times over the course of my career. So I remember the first time that I had to give a presentation to a board of directors. I felt a lot of fear, didn't know what to expect, but I knew for sure that I wanted to do a good first impression. So I remember walking into the boardroom and I couldn't help but notice these weird glances being exchanged across the table. But I cast them aside and got on with the presentation at hand. And about midway through, the chair called a natural break and I thought, I'll go to the bathroom. And that's when I saw it. I had this huge Dorothy the dinosaur hair clip precariously perched on the side of my head. It must have been left there by my 2-year-old daughter and I hadn't even noticed. And I felt this wave of fear. This was not going to plan. So I walked back into the boardroom, my yellow and green prehistoric friend now gone, and I managed to muster the very, very little bit of courage that I felt to ask why nobody had bothered to tell me it was there. Now the chair, who's a conservative gentleman, he paused and then with a wry smile said, "We thought we would let your substance and not your style talk for you today." What a powerful moment. Honestly, what a reminder that every single one of us has the ability to put others at ease, to allow them to bring their whole selves to work, perfect in their imperfection, but in doing so, allow a platform for real strengths to shine. Now that's love, but that's also great for business. So today I want to share with you a couple of the tips that I've managed to pick up over the course of my career on how I can help myself and others fear less and love more, and in doing so create conditions for exceptional performance. Now I like to call these my love bites, and I have 4 of them that I'm going to share with you today. So love bite number 1. Love is courageous. So when I was growing up, my mum and dad used to say to me, aim for the moon, you might get the stars. The idea that it's better to set a higher bar and fall short of a stretching target than to high-five yourself when you deliver a low bar with no ambition. And in the same way, as leaders, we want to empower people to stretch themselves beyond that which they thought was possible, because that's the domain of high performance. But when we ask people to stretch, we also create fear. So as leaders, we also want to be the safety net, creating environments where people can ask questions, challenge the status quo, and experiment with things done differently. It's like the first time I did skydiving. There's a huge amount of fear when someone says to you, and I have to say quite casually, just lean your legs over the edge of the plane, lean over and let yourself fall at like 14,500 feet in the air. But knowing that you're strapped to an expert is going to support you the whole way and is going to help you open that parachute when you most need it, well, that brings a huge amount of comfort. And ironically, it's that comfort that allows people to step outside of their comfort zones. So when you ask people to stretch, sometimes there'll be success and sometimes there'll be failure. And we really have to get comfortable with both. We had an awesome leader in our business who introduced beer and champagne nights. Beer to celebrate the success, but champagne to recognise the learnings that came from things that didn't go to plan, but gave us rich insight in our journey forward. You know, you can be kick-ass good at your job and still be a decent human being. There is no role anywhere in the world that precludes that reality from being true. So be the stretch and the safety net, and brave things will follow. And that's great for business. Okay, love bite number 2. Love is curious. So a couple of years ago now, I took up jiu-jitsu. It's an awesome antidote to corporate life. And there's this concept in martial arts around the beginner's mindset, and it's akin to being perpetually a student. So you want to keep the untainted mind of the white belt at the same time as your belt becomes black with knowledge. So in the same way, my 27 years or so of experience can be my biggest strength, but it can also be the blind spot that I bring to the table. It's why I love two-way mentoring. So I have a couple of 20-something-year-olds and they teach me all manner of things like social selling and agile methodology. And in return, I might teach them some hacks to understanding P&Ls or simple strategic frameworks. I want to invite each and every one of you to take a group of people in your organisation from all walks of life. So think ethnicity, age, location, gender, expertise, and ask them intentionally and authentically to be your sounding board. Go to them with issues that you're facing. Be a bit vulnerable. Ask them for ideas to solve. You will be so surprised that the most magical of solutions come from the most unlikely of places. But better than that, you're going to have created an army of change agents with these superpowers that can make things happen faster and more effectively than you could ever have done on your own. See, success is about knowing when to lead from the front and to use all the amazing expertise that you have. But success is also knowing when to take a step back and to use your beginner's mindset and let someone else lead with their expertise. But you, be their first curious follower. That's where innovation and transformation happen. And that's great for business. Okay, love bite number 3. Love is ambitious. So of all the flowers in the world, my favourite is a sunflower. And the reason I love a sunflower is no matter what the weather, no matter how tumultuous, it will always turn its lovely yellow face to seek out the sun. And in a similar way, love is about helping people confront their fears head on, but also conspiring with them to find a brighter North Star outcome. Now, I'm sure many of you would have heard the term the Great Resignation being bandied about in the press. I actually think it's more the Great Realisation. I think we're all recognising that we want more from our professional lives, more balance and more purposefulness. We want to feel like we're part of something bigger that matters. Now, I want to bring it back home just for a moment. So my 2 children in their rooms have their whiteboards. And on one half of the whiteboard, they've got their goals. So it could be get a scholarship for uni, save money for a car, get a lead role in the school production, or frankly just stay a few belts ahead of mum in jiu-jitsu. Then on the other side, they've got the daily grind of what needs to get done. Homework, assessments, sporting commitments, part-time job requirements. And because my husband and I are seeing it every day, you cannot help but conspire to want to work with them to help make those dreams come true. And as simple as it sounds, the exact same is true in business. People need to feel like the investments they're making today contribute to something, and there's nothing more powerful than a galvanising, ambitious, purposeful goal that everybody can rally behind. So I'll take you back about 18 months when we were in the middle of the COVID peak and all of the challenges that came along with it. And this sort of unifying rallying cry, how can we show definitively that you can make $1 and make a difference in business, provided an enormous amount of motivation for our teams who are working day in, day out to get through those COVID challenges. And 18 months on, I'm really proud to say we are so close to having realised that ambition. So dealing with the challenges of today and consistently delivering good financial performance, well, that's critical to good business. But exponential or discretionary effort, well, that comes from the love of people being part of something that is more purposeful, more ambitious, with more impact. People want to feel like they can have a positive impact on profit, people, and planet. And when you can harness that, well, that's great for business. And my final love bite number 4, is that love is generous. So all of us here today, we are part of many different tribes in our life. It could be work, school, it might be a sports team, friendship circle, it could be a hobby. But when we spend too much time with only one tribe, and I'm pretty sure for most of us, we're probably guilty of that being work, then it can restrict our potential. We have to remove the fear of people needing to make a choice between work life and home life. Because as human beings, we need to be able to take up many different tribes. It nourishes our soul, but more importantly, it enriches our perspective, our outlook, our ideas. And that's great for life, but that is essential in business. See, individual well-being and organisational productivity, they're two sides of the same coin. When people feel well, they perform well. When they perform well, they feel well. They sustain each other. So the 4-day working week is this. We pay people 100% of their salary and benefits to work 80% of the time, as long as they deliver 100% of agreed performance outcome. So this gift of time, it's actually up to 48 days a year, back for you to do something you love, has created a well-being springboard that's delivered exceptional results, financial, cultural, and otherwise. So be generous in the trust you place in others to live their best work life and life outside of work, and watch that generosity come way back in terms of extra effort, impact, and results. And as the song says, the best things in life are free, and so too is love. In fact, love is the most abundant resource that we have available in our pursuit of awesome performance. Love is boundless. The amount of love for my daughter didn't halve when I had my son. So for all of the mathematicians in the room, the algorithm is clear. Fear divides, love multiplies. Imagine we could harness the exponential effect of love at work. And then for all of you song lovers in the room, love will lift us up where we belong and break through all manner of glass ceilings that have been put there by fear. After all, that is the power of love. But for all of us, can the business of love complement the love of business? Hell yes. We can make love the new corporate currency. Thank you.